right, we are back on the record. Mr. Maciolek, you're going to be representing Mr. Cooper?
I am today, Judge.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Pelrine.
Your Honor, shortly after noon on Sunday, August 19, the suspect, soon to be the defendant, Brian M. Cooper, made a telephone call through the 911 system from a gas station convenience store located in the village of Sister Bay. Mr. Cooper, when he got a hold of the 911 dispatcher, he reported to her he wanted to report a murder that he had committed of his friend, Alisha Bromfield. Then during about a 15 to 20-some minute phone call with the dispatcher, he filled in more details about what had happened. As that conversation was going on, the Sheriff's Department dispatched units both to the location in Sister Bay where Mr. Cooper was calling from, as well as to the resort in the southern part of the county where Mr. Cooper claimed the murder took place. Cooper, in that conversation with the dispatcher, and then later in a more formal interview with an investigator with the Sheriff's Department, reported that he has known the victim for a number of years, that the two worked together, and in fact, I believe he worked in a supervisory capacity over her in the area where they both lived in Illinois, and that at some point he believed their relationship had gone to a different level, not just friends or co-workers, but had become a romantic relationship. That was a little over a year ago. She then went back to college in the summer when she resumed working at that same employment place. He noted a difference in their relationship, that they were, quote, just friends, end quote. He wished it to be more and wanted it to be more and hoped it would be more, and he invited her to a family wedding that was going to be taking place in Door County this weekend for the express purpose of hopefully having that relationship go to a more romantic level that he wished, but she clearly did not wish. When they arrived in Door County, he soon found that her attitude was not at all in line with his. In fact, they argued Saturday morning on the morning of the wedding for a time. He was intending to not even go to the wedding. They somehow made up enough to go to the wedding. He drank throughout the evening. She did not drink at all because she is 6.5 months pregnant. After the end of the party, they returned to their hotel at the Sand Bay Beach Resort located in Door County. And there he talked with her again about whether they had any future. He specifically talked about some plans for doing something here in Door County the next day. She told him no in no uncertain terms, and that she was just going to go home or wanted to just go home. And she then went to sleep. He then proceeded to sit in the room growing more angry and frustrated, not only at the breakup of their relationship, but at his feeling of her apparent coldness and indifference to him during the course of the evening. He then awakened her about sometime between 2 and 3 in the morning, got on top of her, and with his hands he strangled her to death. After killing her, he then undressed her and undressed himself, and he had sexual intercourse with her body. He then fell asleep. He woke up a few hours later, and it was then, he says, his intention, realizing what he had done, to kill himself. He made a number of attempts with a butter knife on his wrists and his neck, with a corkscrew wine opener on his wrists. Then he got in his car and was driving around the county for the purpose of coming up with some idea for how to kill himself. When he got somewhere north of Sister Bay, he says, he went into a park in Ellison Bay, went into the bay and tried to drown himself. When deputies located him at the convenience store gas station in Sister Bay, he had no shoes and his clothes were all wet, consistent with what he described having happened. So for those reasons, within the next few days, my office will be charging Mr. Cooper with 2 counts of first-degree intentional homicide, one for the death of Alisha Bromfield and another for the death of her unborn female child. I'll also be charging with 1 count of third-degree sexual assault of a child. Mr. Cooper has, to my knowledge, virtually no contacts whatsoever with either Door County or the state of Wisconsin. He lives and works in Illinois and has for a number of years. There really isn't any bond high enough, I think, to guarantee his appearance. So the number that I'm going to be suggesting is simply a number, Your Honor, I think that is big enough to guarantee he won't be able to make it, because I don't think there is any safe way to guarantee his appearance while out on bond. So I would ask for a $1 million cash bond for Mr. Cooper, and that's all that I have.
Mr. Maciolek, do you wish that I inquire of Mr. Cooper, his address and phone number and other information, or did you get that information from him?
I did get that information from him.
Why don't you go ahead and give me his address, please?
He lives at 2437 Oak Tree Lane in Plainfield, Illinois, 60586.
Did he indicate to you how long he's lived there?
He's been a homeowner there for 7 years.
Okay, thank you. Telephone number?
630-973-7522.
Is he employed?
He was employed until his arrest at Grand Service. He's a regional manager there. They do work with Home Depot.
You've heard the state's request for bond today. Mr. Maciolek, any comment on the defendant's behalf?
Judge, I think Mr. Cooper understands this is a cash bond sort of case.
the state has alleged sufficient facts for me to take jurisdiction of you with a set bond on your behalf. I am going to be setting a $1 million cash bond in this case. Mr. Pelrine has indicated this afternoon he's going to be charging you with 2 counts of first degree intentional homicide, very serious charges with very significant penalties. You are not a Wisconsin resident, so I concur with the state that a very high bond is warranted in this matter, and I will, as I've stated already, set one in the amount of $1 million. You will need to be fingerprinted and photographed by law enforcement, which has probably already occurred. Mr. Pelrine, are you anticipating in terms of an initial appearance in this matter, the timing of that?
If it was absolutely needed, we could have a complaint ready on the 23rd of August. I will not be here then, but I guess I would wish for more time, if for no other reason than while I've gotten some oral descriptions of the results of the autopsies rather, only occurred yesterday afternoon, and it's going to be days, if not a week, before I actually get written reports describing the full extent of the injuries to Ms. Bromfield and confirmation of what I've been orally told was the cause of death of her and the unborn child.
And I believe you said yesterday you are out all next week.
That is correct.
Right. So you would be available next week to do the initial appearance.
Correct. And that's why I knew that you have court on Monday the 23rd, and I was just assuming that that would be the only initial appearance date you'd be doing for that week.
Well, that's this week, Thursday.
I'm sorry,
next
Monday
week.
the 27th, excuse me.
Monday, I am not having intake. I'm gone all next week also.
Okay.
So that's the other complication here. And considering the cash bond that I've set, that based on Mr. Maciolek's statements, doesn't appear the defendant's going to be able to post that, I don't think we should be waiting 2 weeks before we have an initial appearance. I know, Mr. Maciolek, any comment on that from your standpoint in terms of the timing of the initial appearance?
Yes, Your Honor. Based on the information that Mr. Cooper provided me, my office will, I'm sure, want to look into and verify what assets he does or does not have. So it's possible that he will not be qualifying for public defender representation. I don't know if his family plans to hire an attorney privately, or if he would be asking the court to appoint an attorney at this point. But I did want to appear with him today to make sure that he is represented in court.
Well, based on those statements, then, gentlemen, I'm feeling we can set this for sometime the week of September 4th. I'm looking at setting an initial appearance in the matter on Wednesday, September 5th, 2012 at 8:30 a.m. Let me just double check, Mr. Pelrine. You're back by then, Mr. Pelrine, correct?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
Let me just double check that there's something scheduled in branch 2. So, Mr. Cooper, we're setting this matter on for an initial appearance on Wednesday, September 5th, 2012 at 8:30 a.m. Mr. Cooper, at that time, I'll be reviewing with you the criminal complaint, which I anticipate the state will have filed by that date. I'll be discussing with you the penalties you're facing, sir. You will still have the right to have legal representation throughout this case. I urge you to remain in contact with Mr. Maciolek and the State Public Defender's Office regarding their continued eligibility to represent you in this matter. If they are going to be unable to represent you, you will have the right to seek out your own independent legal counsel. If you're not going to be able to afford an attorney yourself, you can petition the court to appoint an attorney on your behalf. That's, again, assuming you don't qualify for public defender representation. So if you are desirous of petitioning the court for an attorney, just request, that form. You know what? Initially, let's just send the petition form with him right now in case he decides that's the road he wants to go. Then he can get that filled out because he's going to need legal representation at that initial appearance on September 5th. You will, sir, what we'll discuss at that point, at the initial appearance, your right to a preliminary hearing, etc. Mr. Pelrine, anything else today for the record?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Maciolek, anything else today for the record?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, gentlemen. We're in recess.